Hi there, I'm James Osborne, the co-founder of the Recruitment Network, and this is the TRN Podcast. Every week, we unpack the strategies, the technologies, the processes and mindsets fueling today's top-performing recruitment agencies. We take a look behind the scenes of some great recruitment businesses, we listen to the real-life stories of those who have built those businesses, and we learn from some of the industry's greatest thought leaders to help you become both future fit and future relevant. So let's begin with this next episode of the TRM Podcast. Very good. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon or good evening, depending where you are. I hope you are well. We're going to talk about AI, again, my favorite subject. I know some of you have gone through some of my AI stuff or are going through my AI stuff. So there's obviously a lot we can talk about with AI around how to build stuff, how to do things, what to buy, what to use, what not to use, etc. It's moving at a rapid rate at the moment. But I'm really, really enjoying AI. And I'm really enjoying exploring stuff with AI at the moment and building things with members and for members as well. Just so you know who we are, we're a large global community of recruitment business leaders and advisors, and we help each other maximize performance, productivity, and profitability. The industry, I think, is going through a huge shift and a huge change at the moment. I think it's really exciting. If you look on LinkedIn, I just launched a newsletter this morning, which is called, it's called now, The Rise of the Super Agency. And I've gone into some detail about what the fastest growing recruitment companies are doing right now. Obviously, AI is in that a little bit as well. So go over to LinkedIn, have a look at my profile, have a look at that newsletter article and have a read through that if you're interested. When I look at a recruitment company, one of the fundamental factors of why we're not necessarily creating the momentum that we want right now, the traction that we want, the profit that we want right now, is because we're unnecessarily leaking profit out of the bottom of our businesses. And whether you are a one-person business or a 100-person business, the principle is exactly the same. Again, I had this conversation with a new member this morning when we were looking at her business and going, there's so much profit leaking out of your company because the revenue that you are generating today doesn't generate the same amount of profit as it did yesterday. That's just the reality, because it costs a hell of a lot more to run your business. And that's just the reality of the world that we live in today. So part of what we're trying to do with the members is to make your businesses far more streamlined, far more productive and far more profitable. So then you can scale up as much as you like, but you're scaling up a profitable business rather than an unprofitable business, which has generally been the sort of the remit from before. We talk a lot about what a recruitment company converts from a profit point of view. Many recruitment companies have been converting really badly at around 3 to 8%. So 3 to 8% of your gross profit, your net fee income, is actually turning into profit, operating profit, which is the same as an airline or a supermarket, basically. You've got bugger all space to maneuver within that. Whereas the smart recruitment companies, what we're calling the future fit agencies, are back converting again at 25, 30%. I came off a call with one of the members yesterday who's just under 40% conversion. And they're growing as well from a headcount point of view, but they're now converting 40% or just under 40% of their GP is turning into bottom line profit. That's pretty bloody cool when you think about it. And that's a bit like being a professional services firm, which I think is what the recruitment sector is as much as anything else. So we're looking at productivity as much as anything else. And I won't go through this slide by slide, but the reality is this is different from being just busy now and hustling. We've done all that. We did that for the last couple of years. This is now about hustling and being busy against the backdrop of a super productive business in the first place. Because the more you hustle to a productive business, the better your business is going to be. That's why we measure payout rates and net contribution per recruiter as opposed to revenue per recruiter, because it's the payout rate, the amount of money that drops to the bottom line is the bit that we're interested in. So then we look at the payout rates and the performance of a recruitment business. We then look at all the things that we could do that could impact profitability within your recruitment company. And I've shown this up to hundreds of different places now. Here's a list of just some random stuff that if you picked half a dozen of these things and basically improve these by 5, 10, 15% in the course of the next 30, 60, 90 days, the impact to your business is significant, especially if you do 3 or 4 of them and they compound together. So if I was to ask you all now on this call, if you just look at that list in the chat, just write down one thing, your priority that you would actually really like to impact more than anything else, that would have the biggest impact on your performance as a recruiter, as a recruitment business. What would that one thing be out of all that list on there? Something that's quite random, and just put it in the chat for me so I get I know you're alive and kicking, but also I get a sense of what would be the one thing that you would really, really focus on. Is it around the average deal size?
Is it around your relationships with your clients? Is it around onboarding? Is it your cost per acquisition? What is it? What's going to move the needle the most within your business, as much as anything else? And we've got database accuracy, updates, employee productivity, lead gen, deeper relationships with clients. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So all of these things are significantly important to your business. All of these things make a massive impact to your business. But actually, if you pick 2 or 3 things and we could actually impact them, added together, would transform your business. And that's what this is all about. And this is where AI comes into play now, because all of these things I put on the screen here, you can bring in AI, and agentic AI in particular, that can actually significantly impact each of these things in some way. And that's the really cool thing about it. Remember, AI is pretty much free as well, so it doesn't cost you any money. The thing about AI, as we always talked about, yes, it's obviously about speed, but it's also about creating space for you and your people to do their best work. I've been using this image now for like 2.5 years now, I think. I'm getting bored of it myself. But just to remind you, the stuff on the left-hand side is your day-to-day to-do list, your recruiter's to-do list. This is where we spend most of our time day to day, and it takes us away from the important day job, which is the stuff on the right hand side. So everything on your left hand side I want to get rid of, and I want to replace it with AI, or get agents and AI to do it for me instead. So then I can then free my recruiters up to do all the stuff that's going to make me more money, get out in meetings, get in front of customers, be more visible, humanize recruitment again. And it's so important to understand the principle behind that, because that's what AI is all about. That's what AI can do for you, whatever it is that you buy or whatever it is that you build. So a really good exercise for all of you on the call to do today is basically make a list of all the things that you do, your recruiters do, your admin stuff, the stuff that gets in the way, the repetitive stuff, and go, out of this list, I'm going to pick half a dozen things, and in the next 30 days, I'm going to build an agent or use a bit of AI to do those things instead of me having to do them, or my recruiters having to do them. And in the next 30 days, I'm going to pick another 6 things, and we're going to keep adding and adding and adding. And slowly, you start building this lovely connected portfolio, or this connected suite of agentic AI, these AI agents that are just doing all the heavy lifting for you within your business, freeing you and your recruiters up to go and do more of the good stuff, such as client relationship management and sales and all that sort of good stuff that we keep talking about, as much that we know is significantly important. That all makes sense. There's nothing rocket science about that. But that's the principle behind what we're trying to do with AI as well. So your recruitment company, your desk, you as a recruiter, should now look like this. This is an old school recruitment org chart where you've got lots of people within your business. The new one looks like this, where we actually build AI agents to do a specific task or a specific job. And each of them are trained and developed and designed and measured to do that job brilliantly well. So I'm going to go, right, I need to, a big part of my job, or part of what I do every single day, is I scrape the internet, I do ambulance chasing to find live vacancies that I can then follow up with the client to say, how are you getting on, and how you got any candidates, and can I introduce you to some of my candidates? So job scraping. So I now spend 2 or 3 hours a day doing job scraping, or 2 or 3 hours a week doing job scraping. I'm now going to build an agent specifically to do job scraping and nothing else. And that agent is going to do exactly what I used to do, but do it on steroids and do it 10 times quicker and 10 times better than I did it before. So I'll go and build my job scraping agent. I then go, right, my next thing I do is once a month, I do market mapping to understand where the market's going, new entrants into the market in my clients, etc. So I'm now going to go and build a market mapping agent. And so it goes on. So you're building these things one by one by one. I think a lot of people are getting lost at the moment because they're going, well, what tech do I buy? What tools am I bringing in? Just stop thinking like it. Just think about what tasks am I going to replace with an agent instead. And that's the key to building AI agents as much as anything else, or using AI within your business. Now, again, I'm not going to go through all of this today because some of you would have seen some of these slides before. But I just want to, and I'll share all these slides with you afterwards, by the way, so you can see it. But again, just think about these tasks that you do in your business, and that's what we're going to replace. I don't want to replace people. I want to replace the tasks that my people do within my business, so I can make my people 10 times more productive than they were yesterday. I want to make myself 10 times more productive than I was yesterday. If any of you haven't done Project Automate yet, please do it. It's the starting point that I take anyone through. It's the simplistic way of mapping out all those tasks and all those workflows. We've got an updated version of this now that's just come through yesterday, which will help you understand what are are those tasks within your business, and which ones should you be automating and getting AI to do for you. If any of you haven't got a copy of this and you want a copy, just give me a thumbs up or a yes or a whatever in the chat, and we'll make sure you've got a copy of this. And I'm going to hold your feet to the flame to make sure you bloody well deliver on it as well, because ultimately it's so simple. But once you've done that, there is the list now of all the things we're going to use agents for. And I'm not talking about buying stuff, I'm talking about building stuff ideally. So we're not spending any money on this. If anything, we're saving money on this as much as we possibly can. Okay, cool. And again, I'll send you more information about Project Automate when it comes through, for those of you who want it. The principle is very simple. What are we going to replace? What are we going to keep human, and what are we going to replace with AI? That's the journey that we're going through here, as much as anything else. Okay, cool. So then we look at what can we do with AI? What are some of the things that we're doing? These are all the things I'd expect all of you on the call to be doing now with AI. If you're not, you're probably behind the scenes a little bit. Again, in the chat for me, just I'd like you to add to the chat anything in there. Maybe pick one thing in particular that you are now not doing currently that you would like to be doing using AI. And I've got Felix on the call here. We'll take a copy of all this, Felix, please. And we'll make sure we'll build agents for each of you for those particular tasks so you can see how to do it. But if each of you put in the chat now, just one thing on that list that you are not currently using AI for, but would like to be using AI for, what would that one thing be? You might find it tallies up with what you wrote down originally. That's fine. But it might be something completely different. So again, we've got scheduling interviews, note-taking, content creation, CRM management, sourcing, lead gen. Okay, cool. Again, all of these things, easy stuff to be able to do once you've decided I want to build an agent to do lead gen, or I want to do an agent to do my interview scheduling, and so on and so forth. Okay, so nice and simple. Gordon, lead generation. We keep bidding all the AI tools. We've tried to do this. All right, cool. Well, let me show you how to do it, Gordon. We'll see if we can build one for you instead. Okay, cool. So there's the idea behind the principle. There's the thinking behind it. That's what you need to do. Rather than get bogged down with this and get complicated with this, just go, let me pick one thing I do in my business. Let's go and build an AI agent to do it. So A, I practice building an AI agent, and B, is actually moving the needle and it's actually working. Then we go and build another one, and so it goes on, as simple as that. Okay, cool. So that's the sort of the general principle behind it. When I build agents at the moment, we're using all sorts of different tools. I'm spending a lot of time at the moment using Claude. I think Claude's very good, especially for conversational stuff. My original agents, however, I still build in ChatGPT as a GPT agent. It's really simple to use, really simple to build, and you can turn it on really quickly, and it's pretty much free. You need the paid version, which is about $16 a month, but that's it, and that's enough for you to be able to build a whole load of agents that do things that you want want them to be able to do, basically. So nice and simple. Okay, cool. If we quickly touch on the GPT agents, and I'll just very quickly remind you of how it works. It's an agent. It's a worker bot, whatever you want to call it, a little thing that sits in your computer that basically does a specific task for you, as and when you want it to happen, either automatically or when you ask it to do so. And you can get it to do pretty much anything you want it to be able to do. So if I just quickly run through how to build an agent, again, some of you have done this already, so apologies for repetition, but let's just make sure we've got this right. If you go into your ChatGPT, if you've got it on your computer or you've got it on your phone, on the left-hand side, you've got sort of three areas. You've got your projects, you've got your chat. Chat's what most people tend to use when they're asking questions and things, but then you've also got GPTs in there. If you click on the GPTs and go explore GPTs, on the right-hand side, you'll have the opportunity to then create your own GPT. And basically creating your GPT is the same as building an agent. So do you understand? That make sense? So left-hand side of your ChatGPT, 3 columns, 3 areas. Focus on the GPTs, go explore GPTs. That takes you into the GPT section of ChatGPT. And then you're going to go create, and we're going to create a GPT. By creating a GPT, I'm basically building a worker bot. I'm building an agent. It just happens to be called a GPT. Make sense? Okay, cool. And then we build it. You've got a whole load of boxes that you fill out, and you go through it one by one, and you fill out the boxes. So the first one, you get the chance to put a picture in, so you can actually see what it looks like. You can give it a name. This one's Percy, who's a lead generator agent. You give it a description. You teach it what you want it to do. That's what we call as prompting, which we'll go back to in a second. You can build conversation starters if you want, which are quick buttons to get your agent working quickly if you want to. You can upload files and documents into your agent so you can teach it to do things differently. You can choose what AI agent you're using, what type of AI you're using to make sure it's the right one. You can choose whether it searches the internet or doesn't search the internet, or creates images, or does coding or not does coding by turning these on, and so on and so forth. So literally you're going through this buttons bit by bit and just filling them out. And simple as that. What do you want to call it? What does it do? How does it do it? Quick starters, some content in there to help feed it, make it even better as an agent. What model am I going to use, and what do I actually physically, where do I want it to go? And then you click create, and that builds the agent out for you. So this is what it looks like when you built it. There's the picture at the top, that's the name. This is what it does. They're the quick link buttons, those little boxes that you can see there. And then I can run my agent and get it to do what I want it to do whenever I want it to do. This one here is a market pulse agent. So it gives me an analysis of the marketplace and what's going on in the marketplace. Does that make sense? And that's really quick and simple. Again, if you go on the TRM World platform, you'll see this all mapped out for you step by step in a nice slow process. And what we're doing here on ChatGPT, you can take into Claude, into Grok, into Microsoft Copilot, etc. The principles are all exactly the same as well. And then you can go out and build whatever agents that you want to build off the back of that. So here's a list of some of the candidate-focused agents that we've been talking about in some of the candidate programs recently. So these are things you can build for your candidates if you want to, especially if you're candidate-focused. And there's about 75 on this list here, plus. You can keep adding to this as much as you like. And so it goes on, and so it goes on, and so it goes on. Okay, cool. So one last thing I'm going to just talk about, and I'm going to open up to a bit of a Q&A or a bit of a chat. The really important thing with ChatGPT and AI is that you have to clone yourself. Everyone keeps complaining. It really bugs me that my GPTs don't work, or it keeps hallucinating, or blah, 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 etc. One of the main reasons why that happens is because ultimately we haven't cloned it or trained it properly. You haven't prompted it properly, and you haven't cloned yourself properly. When I talk about cloning and personalization, it means basically if you haven't told ChatGPT, for example, that you are British English, it might presume that you are American. So then when it produces content, for example, it might use a Z rather than an S. Or for some of you, when you are producing content, you may get those big M dashes, those long hyphens sort of stuff, which is one of the most obvious signs it's written by AI. That's because you haven't told it not to use M dashes, etc. So really important to clone yourself. So many people haven't cloned themselves, which is madness. Just go and do that. It takes you seconds to do it. You go into ChatGPT, you can do it on any of the platforms. Go into ChatGPT, look on your initials. There's a button to customize ChatGPT. This is sort of in the back end settings of ChatGPT. Go into that and then basically fill out the instructions. So tell it a little bit about you, who you are, where you're based, what do you do, what's your tone, what's your style like, etc., etc. Who are your ICP, and so it goes on, and so it goes on. So that way it starts to understand you better. So now every time I use ChatGPT, it really understands me. It's learning about me, and it really makes sure that then what it produces, content, style, agents, everything is in my way of thinking and how I like to do things. Does that make sense? So that's the sort of the piece around, I suppose, personalizing it to you. You could also go and build an actual clone. In the same way I built an agent GPT a minute ago, you can actually go and build your own sales clone. So I think a good recruiter today would have half a dozen clones already built using GPTs that they go into if they want to then go and do something. So for example, you might have a sales clone. So everything you do in sales, I go to my sales clone to do it. You might have a recruiter or resourcing clone. So every time you're doing anything around resourcing, you go into your resourcing clone and then do it from within there, because you've already trained your resourcing clone to be bloody brilliant at what it is that they do, and so on and so forth. You might have an admin clone that does all your admin for you, because you've already told it about how you do admin, the systems that you use, your processes. So every time you ask your admin clone to do a bit of admin for you, it already understands how you do things already. So again, it does it accurately as opposed to anything otherwise. Again, does that make sense? Owning and personalization in many, many different ways, but I would highly recommend you do both and practice getting used to those sort of things. Again, how do you build your clone? Exactly the same way that we did a second ago. You put your picture in, you give it a name, you give it a description, you prompt it in your instructions, you upload. In this case here, I've uploaded a load of documents to my clone, so it knows about my sales processes. This is my sales clone, so it's about my sales process, my account management processes, etc., etc. And there's the prompt that I use. Don't worry about the prompt for now, and so on and so forth.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the TRN podcast. Thank you for listening. And make sure you grab the free episode toolkit. All the links are in the description. And click follow in your podcast app so you can get notified of our next episode. If you want to get more out of your business and your people, then please unlock 30 days from our platform, TRN World, for free. And help yourself to all our training content, our guides, our templates, and peer insights. You can get started at trnworld.com/trial. And finally, if you found this episode of the TRM podcast of use,